All right, welcome back again, man. You know what I mean? This is Guess Who the Rapper, aka the Grand Ambassador, Flesh Dynasty, here to lace your brain with some incredible and glorious games. Once again, man, and yes, I like to say, yeah, before I begin, as usual, hey, if you like yourself, hit that like button. If you like someone else, hit that share button. And if you love yourself, hit that subscribe button. Hey, so you could be certified in order to be notified. Hit that notification button as well. Now, as we all know, as y'all, all of y'all should know, um, we are mourning and witnessing the story of our brother Malcolm Jamal Warner's passing in Costa Rica due to an accidental drowning. And I did a video on it earlier, and I just saw this take on CNN concerning him and his passing. He was well loved. I'm greatly impacted and affected by it. Just like everybody else, blessings and condolences to his family, friends, as well as his fans, people who have grew up with the character he played as Theo Huxtable, um, and his mentor Bill Cosby, and on the Cosby Show. He was very respected and loved in the industry. That's very rare. He cannot and will not be replaced. Very good. Never caught up in a scandal. He was very humble, quiet, but he still had a strong passion for our people and to represent our culture to the fullest. And he released his full measure in that capacity, how he was reared and raised by his on-screen persona as well as his off-screen persona. It's like they was harmonically together, married together. A reason why I want to do this video is because I just saw their take on CNN and how they merged the influence of Bill Cosby and the Cosby Show to this man's upbringing and what the impact that the message that the show and his mentor Bill Cosby uh you know impact imparted to him, and like a on-screen persona, he was like a father figure to him, not just on screen but off screen as well. So, but there were certain things that concern me with this take on CNN, and I would like to get into it now. So, without any further ado, let's get into it.
Malcolm Jamal Warner, dead at the age of 54 on a drowning accident while he was vacationing with his family in Costa Rica. Joining us now, Bomani Jones, host of the Right Time with Bomani Jones podcast, and entertainment journalist Segun Odulo to share their thoughts there. And Bomani, if I could begin with you, of course it was difficult, and he spoke quite publicly about this, Malcolm Jamal Warner, when Bill Cosby was accused, later convicted of multiple cases of sexual assault. He was asked about it in a 2015 interview, and he said, he's one of my mentors, and he's been very influential, played a big role in my life as a friend and mentor. Just as it's painful to hear any woman talk about sexual assault, whether true or not, it's just as painful to watch my friend and mentor go through this. How did he handle in the years since he left the show, just that the larger Bill Cosby controversy and scandal?
Now, I'm unfamiliar with this brother Bomani Jones. I'll I'll look him up later. And the other brother underneath him on this panel. Um, but they're basically asking him, asking these two black people about how, after Malcolm Jamal Warner's comment and his support of Bill Cosby as he was going through this uh, SA accusation, and what his opinion of how he felt about what his mentor and his basically a father figure to him was going through. Yes, he had concerns for the people that are purport or supposed had been victims or whatever of SA, but yet he had a closer and more interpersonal relationship with Bill Cosby, who was his on-screen father, and a father figure in his life. So I don't know this guy, Bomani Jones, and the other guy, I believe the other gentleman is African or whatever. I don't know, but I just want y'all to hear what they have to say. Come on.
I mean, I guess you would argue that he handled it about as well as he could, because it's not like what Bill Cosby did is something that he himself could answer for. And it's got to be super tricky, not only because Cosby was kind of a vehicle for the fame and what his life ultimately became, but also because specifically the vehicle that they were attached to was so attached to the idea of wholesomeness, and that this guy is like everybody's dad. And then you find out that your dad perhaps might be a terrible person. That's a rough go for anybody. And so I noticed for all the members of that cast, for us, Bill Cosby was just kind of he's not somebody we knew in general. He's just an idea. And so for those people, you're reckoning with the person you thought you know, the person that was actually there, and the idea that happened to be a vehicle for everything that happened in your life. So it's kind of hard for me to evaluate how anybody would or would not have handled it, because it's such a particular situation.
Of course, you get the ads. Hold on.
Everything that happened in your life. So it's kind of hard for me to evaluate how anybody would or would not have handled it, because it's such a particular situation.
All right, before I let the other gentleman from CNN go on, basically, what I heard from Mr. Bomani Jones is that he's basically saying that yes, Bill Cosby had the on-screen persona. When that news came out, it may have been difficult for Malcolm Jamal Warner to accept, or no, not to accept, but to hear and defend this, this individual of these accusations, because that's what they were, accusations. And it said basically, Bomani Jones was saying it was tough for him to make that decision in dealing with someone that he thought he knew. But here's why I have to do this video. It's because it's not. This is Bill Cosby is not someone that Malcolm Jamal Warner did not know. He knew him, and if you know somebody and you hear something opposite of their character, like me, like I have a friend, and when I was dealing with this girl, she had called my friend and told her that I was this particular person and I was that particular person, and my friend did not believe this woman because she knew me. Malcolm Jamal Warner's comment wasn't wavering like he presented it as, or I think he misrepresented this stance of Malcolm Jamal Warner, because Malcolm Jamal Warner was just saying, if this is true or not, it's sad to hear about victims of SA, but at the same time, I don't like to see my mentor and a person that I've viewed as a father figure to me go through this. So that's what his stance was mostly. Yes, he has to show care and concern for anybody making such claims and accusations, but the truth of the matter is he knew this person, and he was like, but I'm really, if you can read between you only really got to read between the lines. It was really evident. I support Bill Cosby's, because he's my mentor. Bill Cosby represented wholeness. The characteristics that was, the idea of the show came from Bill Cosby. That translated into the real life of Malcolm Jamal Warner. Bill Cosby didn't even used to like comics to use curse profanity and curse words and lewdness. And even me, I agreed with him. I know Eddie Murphy and Richard Pryor and them used to say, tell Bill to have a, Jello pudding pop, the coconut smile, and be quiet. But and it was funny, and I laughed, but at the same time, I agreed with Bill Cosby because comedy did get a little dirty. But that's neat. But that just shows you the character of Bill Cosby. So I it was a bit of a spin for the brother Bomani Jones to say that Malcolm Jamal Warner was a bit conflicted or slighted but with the support of Bill Cosby, when clear to me, him, not only him, but Felicia Rashad supported him 100%, because you know why? They knew him. Me, guess who? Guess who wasn't going for none of what these people, the SA so-called victim would say? Me. That's who. I wasn't going for any of these stories. The ing in the word going stands for I'm not going, so I wasn't going for that. I believe that they like to tear down black people who have tremendous power and legacy. And when Bill Cosby wanted to buy that network, the powers that be said, over our dead bodies. And that's when they began this uh, um, demonization campaign. And then once they start that, they bring up these accusations. And now, instead of him going down in history and his legacy being tagged from being all the great and wonderful works as the legendary Bill Cosby, they now try to manipulate the mind of the masses to call him Pill Cosby. And that I never went for. I'm not, I didn't go for it then. I'm not going for it now, nor will I ever go for that. Bill Cosby is a legend to me, was then, is now, and will forever be. But let's let them continue.
Yeah, Shagun, this is, I mean, we all know Malcolm Jamal Warner for this role, right? But he also was so accomplished as a Grammy-winning musician. He had a recent podcast. He spoke out about being a black man in society and what that meant, and that's a voice that's needed. And that portrayal that he brought was groundbreaking. Can you talk a little bit about the mark that he's leaving here? It's just incredibly sad when we think of what a young age he died at.
All right, before I let the brother continue on, this is the second brother they're going to ask questions about. Well, ask questions to about Malcolm Jamal Warner. Now, his name is Shagun. So that's not a regular name for black people here that's born in America. So I want y'all to hear his perspective real quick, but just keep that in mind that this brother's not really from here, but that doesn't mean he wasn't impacted by the Cosby Show. But I just want y'all to hear something.
Yeah, the passing of Malcolm Jamal Warner is horrific. And, I know Elizabeth Wagmeister and one of the entertainment reporters that you had on before, but culturally, and I think Bomani and myself can speak to this, this is like the loss of a family member in that, look, I'm the child of immigrants and my dad is a PhD. My mom is a therapist. Malcolm Jamal Warner was the first time I saw somebody that looked like me and my brothers on television that my parents could relate to. The conversations that he would have on screen with his television dad were the same conversations about going to college and cleaning your room that I was having with my father. So his voice as a black man on screen, and then afterwards, just the man he was, the smile, the artist, the Grammy you mentioned, he was also on Def Poetry Jam. There was an aura about him of just class and grace. And for me at my age, it's like losing a family member because we grew up with him. Like I grew up watching this kid go through the same things that I was going through while he's on camera. And so culturally, his passing is so tremendous to our community as Black men because he was a father himself. Like he embodied the things that maybe Bill Cosby it turned out wasn't, but Malcolm Jamal Warner was those things. He kept his life private, and so like again, I'm almost at a loss for words because when I saw the news, I could not believe it. 54 is not only so young, but what he meant to me growing up and to a great many of us to see something like that to see us represented is so powerful. It's definitely a tragic loss, not just for the entertainment community, but the Black community as a whole. We lost somebody that I throw it to you, Bomani. I grew up watching him and laughing, and my dad did the same thing. I brought you into this world, I'll take you out. He just did it with a Nigerian accent.
It's such a good point that he.
All right. Before I let him continue on, you see, he's from Nigeria, right? And that's why his name is Segun Aluwalu. Blessings to our brothers, and from Nigeria that are genuinely our brothers. I agree with majority of what he said. Well, I agree 100% of what he said concerning Malcolm Jamal Warner. That how he, and I assumed it by his experience in their culture, they're taught to come to America to get these degrees and to become PhDs and get their doctorates and masters and things of that nature. Being Nigerians, or he's the child of immigrants, people are immigrants, and these are people of the diaspora. Some of them, but some of them are, though they may be are people of the diaspora, they have a different view of the people that are born in the that on the born on the soils of America, because sometimes they're taught that we are Black people here are different, and one of the main titles that we're lazy. So, but that image of having pushing college and school and to advance themselves in this society that is widespread to them of the diaspora, like places like Nigeria and other places. So he can relate to Malcolm Jamal Warner playing the role as Theo Huxtable 100%. We being born here, we related to Malcolm Jamal Warner as an ideology, but he was not just that. He was literally tied into our culture full uh, to its full measure. He released his full measure, hip hop, jazz, music, acting, poetry, to his full measure. He was in the when he was younger, he was in the Houdini funky beat video, dancing. You know what I mean? We loved Malcolm Jamal Warner. He was every bit of class and elegance, but guess where he learned that from? Bill Cosby. So I 100% agree with him when it comes to Malcolm Jamal Warner, to the brother, my Nigerian brother. But what I did had an issue with is how he said that Malcolm Jamal Warner was everything that the show personified in real life, though Bill Cosby was not. That I had a problem with. See, you gotta be born here, and you have to know what the intentions of these people in this industry done to Bill Cosby, who Malcolm Jamal Warner learned this elegance and this grace and this sophistication, and this wholesomeness from. And they demonized him and tried to destroy him and even put him in a correctional facility, and then later had to release him. But I didn't like how they used this guy from Nigeria to represent not just Malcolm Jamal Warner, but Bill Cosby. See, it's almost like they take on, what they heard about us here in the States, being black Americans, and they're black people from Nigeria, though we may have a kinship, uh, they do have uh, a bit of tainted information concerning the people that are born here. And that whole media campaign and that smear campaign and these accusations of these women and white women accusing Bill Cosby of being Pill Cosby, he basically, you can hear it when he says that Bill Cosby was not that and Malcolm Jamal Warner was. I disagree with that. Bill Cosby was that, and he taught that to Malcolm Jamal Warner. And they should have had somebody like me, somebody born here who knows their enemy, who knows what they did to Bill Cosby, and to do the rest of our heroes was to assassinate the character of our heroes. And some of them they either put them in jail or send them to the cemetery. So I just wanted to add that and put some paint where it ain't and say what this brother from Nigeria just can't. No, brother, you may have related in to Malcolm Jamal Warner 100%, but he got that from Bill Cosby, brother. Let's go. Let me go back a little.
Somebody that I throw it to you, Bomani. I grew up watching him and laughing, and my dad did the same thing. I brought you into this world, I'll take you out. He just did it with a Nigerian accent.
It's such a good point that he, in his life, tried to live up to that wholesome image himself, Shigun. It's such a great point. Sorry, Bomani, go ahead.
No, I was going to say the dynamic that Shagun pointed out is interesting because my parents are both professionals. But the thing is, the Cosby Show comes out in '85. I'm 5 years old, so I don't have a recollection of the world without the Cosby Show. And so, what was revolutionary for a lot of people, for me, was much more commonplace because of the life they showed was more similar to a life that I recognized. Now, what I always find to be interesting, and not that this was that different from many sitcoms, but as much as Cosby had a tendency to fall into traps of respectability politics, those kids were driving him crazy at every turn. And the Theo Huxtable drive him crazy was interesting in the first couple of seasons of the show because it's just basically your son's a screw up who says he wants to be a regular person. He had to tell him that that's why he made D's and everything. The progression of the character was one who had actually an undiagnosed learning disability, which I think created a relatability to a lot of people in circumstances where they felt like they were doing their best and just couldn't get it right. And so it went from being a joke that Theo can't get it right to you recognizing, oh, there's a reason. And there's way ahead of kind of a conscientiousness that we have now about those issues. But it also, I think the term class was used, but as the Theo Huxtable character gets older, he just gets a whole lot cooler. Like that was somebody that you could see by the end of it and be like, yo, I wouldn't mind kicking it like that guy kicks it. So as much as we could talk about like these kind of deeper issues of how it affected black people, in the end, this worked because it was an entertaining television show. And a big part of why it was entertaining is he gave one of the more realistic portrayals of a teenager on screen while actually being a teenager. Because normally people who get that right are actors who are older and can look back on what their lives were. In real time, he was capturing what a 14, 15, 16-year-old would be in a very relatable format for not just black people, but also Americans. Like, it's crazy to think how many white people watched that show at the time, given how decidedly black it was. So we can claim the character very closely, certainly, but let's be careful and not lose sight of the fact that this was an American character that was shared by the country from coast to coast.
I'll say, listen, as I said to Brianna earlier, I watched it religiously as well, but I could hear, and maybe you're the same, I hear in the passion, Shigun and Bomani, in your voices, just what it meant to you to watch this show, right? I mean, it just comes across with everything you say.
Yeah, Bomani touched on it, like the learning disability. Like in the Black community, in many communities, that's not discussed, right? That I had never seen that before.
I'm gonna have to take a pause for the cause right here. Let's deal with that because I'll let it continue to go on because from Bomani to the Nigerian brother. Now let's discuss the learning disability. Now look, they used to classify our black people, our black youth, and classify them with learning disabilities because we didn't fit into their criteria, which was a lot of it was racially biased. So, and it was structured by the powers that be that took over education, that took over the board of education, such as the Rockefellers, and then like David Rockefeller back in then, and I think he was one of the Rockefellers was responsible for taking over the education board of education to indoctrinate through perceived education to get them to the public and the masses to work for their corporations. So a lot of us black people and the black youth, we had something, a spirit within us of discernment and a spirit of rebellion to certain constraints that is tied to uh, involuntary or voluntary servitude, or what they would call slavery, right? You know what I mean? The slavery or slave mentality. Some of us was born with the predisposition to refute that from birth, and so as they're trying to indoctrinate us, and we have different paths of learning, uh, not without even knowing that or having the background information that the powers that be, like the Rockefellers, had taken over the board of education, and how the curriculum was taught for us to make a modern day slave to work for their corporations and build them up by getting these degrees and PhDs to work for them instead of us working for ourselves. They would, if we would refute that or have a problem understanding that, or trying to see the relevance to that in our own lives and our own survival, they will call it and label it uh, learning disabilities. They'll call you. They'll say you have a learning disability. Some go as far as to put you on medication. You know what I mean, for your learning disability. And no, the answer to that is no. We just had uh, a inner spirit of discernment without even, that was subconscious but not conscious, to refute the indoctrination. So people like this Bomani Jones guy character and this brother Sagoon from Nigeria, they're sold that. They're sold that brand of indoctrination and package it as education um, abroad, to where that's how you're going to get success in America. When a lot of us that are born in the hoods and the ghettos and the hells of America, some of us were born with the spirit of people that formed Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma, or in Rosewood, Florida, where we strive to build our own community, our own society, our own economic and financial institution, so where that is embedded in our genetic information. So we'd be like, no, this curriculum has mental slavery information and tactics to it, so we would refute it, and then they would basically deem you as having a learning disability. And this is why they use these two brothers. They were never taught to a person like me that has like a rebellious type to the system. These brothers are definitely with it, with the system, and they agree to just get uh to somewhat quote unquote be successful academically, but it doesn't really translate into ownership and community of your own, or having your own economy, your own grocery stores, your own banks, your own. So it didn't translate that. So they'll label us with um, disabilities. But you can hear in the tonality of both these gentlemen. That's why both these gentlemen, that they are fully indoctrinated with that brand or packaging of what they call education. And if we are the ones that refuted that, so they will label us with learning disabilities. All right, let me let them continue.
Say.
Yeah, Bomani touched on it, like the learning disability. Like in the black community, in many communities, that's not discussed, right? That I had never seen that before. And I know people that, because of what was displayed on the Cosby Show, and that conversation led to conversations in their own family. Bomani is right. This was an American character, because you don't be on the most successful sitcom in television at the time if it was only for one group of people. Malcolm Jamal Warner himself, away from the camera, and I know you all mentioned it, led a very private life. He was kind of like the anti-star, and really didn't seek the fame, but was really an artist. And the art form that he showed on television that we consumed, must see TV Thursday night, you knew the time. Like, you sat down there, we ate dinner watching the Cosby Show. It was one of the only shows that we could watch. And like I said, for me and for my brothers, I've been on the phone with them, and we're having conversations like, I can't believe he's gone. And we're reminiscing and being reminded about shows and episodes, and the Gordon Gartrell when Denise made the shirt for him. There are episodes that his character went through that are so indelible and left memories for us that are never going to go away.
Yeah, and I think it was dyslexia that he had, and I think of his early adventures, because it was early on in the series, with Cockroach, his friend, who was so memorable as well. Just so much warmth that he brought to that character, and so much of himself, clearly, that he brought to that character. Shagun Oduolowu and Bomani Jones, thank you so much to both of you. Really, really appreciate this conversation, as I think so many people are feeling this, and our hearts go out to this family.
That's the thing. A family has lost their father today, and our prayers with them.
Yeah, thank you guys so much.
Yeah.
All right, let me just say this. Hold on, let me let this.
Fuck.
Yeah, let me just say this. As you can see, that multiple people were impacted by the Cosby Show, um, from different areas of the world and different cultures and nationalities. Yeah, as you can see, the on CNN, white people tuned in to the Cosby Show. You have black people that were progressive and into this, or to influence to go into these learning institutions to progress and get further in, to try to obtain the American dream, escaping the American nightmare. Then you have people abroad, like in Africa and Nigeria, and the Caribbeans, that was tuning in to Bill Cosby and the Cosby Show and the characters, and especially Malcolm Jamal Warner. But there was something particular even about Malcolm Jamal Warner's character as Theo. Theo really was merging both with being an urban black youth and a black child, but at the same time being raised in a family of progressive black family, seeking to do better through through academics and and that nature, because a lot of these people from the Caribbeans, they pursue academics and things of that nature. So yeah, blessings to no, let's get that image out of there. Blessings to
Malcolm.
Malcolm Jamal Warner. Once again, rest in peace. I'm very impacted by this loss, because Theo, we it's like we lost our brother. Theo, or Malcolm Jamal Warner, is 2 years older than me, and we both share the same middle name and the same initial last name. My last name is West. His last name is Warner, but both our middle name is Jamal, Jamal, and we just feel like we knew him. We can relate to him more so than any of them characters, particularly Theo, because Theo, he, even us, for us that was raised with the little edge on us from the streets and stuff, Theo was a part of that culture, but he just moved with so much elegance and grace, and he was well respected, and he stood on principle for the black community, man. So this one is a tough one for us, for all people, white, black, Hispanic, Asian, everybody that was impacted by the Cosby Show, and in particularly Malcolm Jamal Warner, who understood them and can relate to them. My condolences to all of us, and all of us who has felt, the tragic passing of Malcolm Jamal Warner. So I'm gonna leave it at there. Y'all already know what time it is. Guess who the rapper, aka the Grand Ambassador of the Fresh Dynasty. Here, lace your brain with some incredible and glorious game. Once again, man, y'all have a blast, pass while now, and greater later. Live the life of your designs. You can have a good time for a lifetime. Live the life of his designs, so your life will be divine for the rest of your lifetime. I'm gonna sign out. R.I.P. to the incomparable and legendary Malcolm Jamal Warner. Love, peace, and grace to all of y'all. Blessings.